The reason I'm here, I want to thank Iris for connecting me to this group. Actually connecting with people sharing general experience. I won't say it's a success experience, or just the experience of many years in the area in Silicon Valley in technology. It's some of the things I always like to do. Sometimes I feel this is rewarding to me more than it's kind of rewarding to the audience, because almost I feel it's the way I pitch my experience. I'm not the career coaching, right? So it's like teaching math by what we call 体育老师, right? So, but one thing I feel very passionate about was you will know me a little bit more as I introduce myself later. Is I always want to kind of ask a question just deeper, and then find something maybe more interesting from the kind of surface. And sometimes maybe it's interesting only to me, but also I find a very interesting thing is when I share with the people, I find other people are interested too. So this is the one way I kind of organize my talk. I want to start from there. So start with this title. Actually, I read this title several times. I like it when I come up with this, and I don't know whether I come up or it was from the CASPA group of people come up with this. I really like it because it's very catching. People come to want to know the ordinary to extraordinary, right? But then I ask myself is, am I extraordinary? I kind of hesitate to say I'm extraordinary. Almost feel is like every people feel we are ordinary. I may do a quick survey. And, the people sitting here, everyone, raise your hand if you think you are extraordinary. Okay. I didn't prepare that. Now we know why women has confidence. I think your husband probably raised hand too for you. So what I see is, I find out actually you ask what is extraordinary. Then you ask yourself, what is extraordinary? Is the extraordinary objective description or subjective description, right? So with the people here raise the hand, must be subjective. Yes. And because I didn't know, I thought extraordinary could be objective because lots of time people measure. You reach certain way, then you're extraordinary, right? Actually, this is the first thing you should ask yourself is what is extraordinary? I think most of the time we feel we are ordinary, which is normal. But I think why make us kind of motivated every day to work hard, right? Learn hard, is because we want to be extraordinary. And so for me, I started to form an idea is actually, ordinary, extraordinary, I agree with this lady. They are subjective terms. Actually, just like are you happy or not? It's very subjective. It's your setting. But it is also a very objective description. You can use this for your kind of self-reflection. Ordinary is a state. You extrapolate your previous kind of a pattern to conduct your life. So like every day, most of the time, we actually leverage all the things we build up to the next, to what we do. So every day is ordinary day, right, for us. Nothing wrong with it. It's just normal state. Extraordinary, I feel, is a state you move from one extrapolation line to another extrapolation. So you actually, it's a quantum leap phase. This phase usually happens when you feel literally like, I mean, to certain extent, we talk about career here, but in the life when baby raises her or his head, when they start to have can walk, right? All these steps all these moments is extraordinary. But usually I find out is don't take extraordinary as a kind of stable state. Like once you move to a state, it will be extraordinary. No, actually it's not. Every place, once you reach to that state, that become your new ordinary state. So you just need to keep on building up to the next extraordinary state. Right? So this title itself is really talking about one cycle of this evolution. So what I try to convey in this sharing is, actually if you look at your life, look at your career, it's built on many cycles of this transformation from ordinary to extraordinary. So that's why some of the time, I mean, this thing you go back to why some of the movie star and all that, they get depressed. Because they want to keep the extraordinary all the time. There's no possibility you can do that. Every time you become a new state of extraordinary, then that becomes your ordinary. The stress coming from the people on the opposite side on this movie star is, they know their life is ordinary, but also they want to present the image they are extraordinary. So that's where the gap is, right? And our normal people, usually our struggle is, we are ordinary, but also we want to be extraordinary, right? So this is a kind of interesting scenario, but for us, most of the time, I think that the interesting topic is, how we bring the more excitement in our life. And since we probably spend majority of our kind of wake up time in the work, in our career, let's discuss how we can be successful in that. So that's my kind of introduction. I like that interaction, so every time I like this, you share your question, raise hand anytime. I don't want to miss any questions if you want to ask, so I want to make this as open as possible. Also, there is an interesting thing I like to share. Gary asked me, can we tape this one, or can we videotape this one? I said, yes. My logic is opposite. I said, after the conversation, if someone said, XiaoDong said something this way, I can actually say, look at the video. So I like this, this is one of the things, sometimes I maybe also like to come and listen and some of the question, if I can say, can I ask the question in a different way and all these things. So let's kind of make this conversation as something we can all learn as in the future. Okay, so outline very simple. Know yourself, that's the first thing. As I said, every time I'm here just talking about something we thought we already take as granted, I just want to push one step further, create some kind of thinking for yourself. Right? So know yourself, that's how to tell your story. The second thing is understand three phases of your career. And you can view these three phases as like a three loop of ordinary to extraordinary loop. So in the life, actually, there's probably multiple, more than three. This is kind of just a simple cartoon version of the career could be. Then how to deal with setback? I always see, for me personally, this is a very, very important lesson. Actually, I was at least in high school, in college, and I was a pretty good student. I always feel, now I talk with my kids, every people, graduate students, I said, if you are straight A student in the school, you will have a hard time to adjust it at work. If you are C student, you actually have an easier time to adjust in the society. So this is actually pretty common for everyone, so I just want to share this. As I talk about this one, I can explain a little bit more. The last one, as I said, I probably already kind of explained at the beginning. Sometimes I could, in Chinese we call 写作文走题. In this career topic, at the end, I want to elaborate, bring this whole conversation into a little bit higher level. It's really about you build up your career and also you build up your legacy. Since I've been in the internship for 30 years, sometimes this is something maybe I just like to share my understanding on that. So that's kind of a framework. Also, I want to make sure I have I want to make sure I connect my time. So you can talk, if I talk too much, then you can go ahead. So, okay. Finish my outline. Let's do next page. Knowing yourself. Okay, knowing yourself. Very important when people introduce you, like the first page, you saw my degree, when I graduate, how many papers I have. I got all this, that's my title, that's my work, all this. These are not me. Personally, sometimes I feel is you need to understand this is the first step about people connecting with you. Right? You want every person know you more than just these things. And every time you introduce yourself, you need to introduce much more. Why? As I said, ordinary state is the past accumulation of basically you just extrapolate. So what all this is basically it's your previous state. Your title, your PhD, your all these things. It's basically, it's just what the mark you have in the previous. So how do you connect yourself to the future? That's something you need to explain to everybody. So to a certain extent, every time when you talk about job interview, talk about when you deal with your boss, when you deal with your peer, right? Always remember, you need to pay more attention, explain yourself better. Because if you look at these, if you just look at these titles, people don't know is, what is something you are excited? How do I predict? How do we find some common interest and all these things? So you need to build more than just a set of so-called these resume kind of bullet points. Now, then it comes back to is, besides this, do you know yourself something more than what is on the resume? So some people, including me at least at the beginning of my career, is like, I spent already like half day put up my resume. I thought I put everything I know about myself on the resume. Actually, it is not. You try to put something you think other people can help you to get a job on your resume. You need to put more. So besides the things shared at the beginning, I like to also introduce a little bit about myself too. I give you three things I think I will introduce myself. Number one, I'm super interested in math. I'm actually very good at the math. So math is my foundation. Anything you talk about math, I'm in. I can spend whole night to talk about math, no problem. Number two, I have curiosity. So outside of math, if the topic is about something we want to understand, I'm also in, and also I can think something very differently, and this is kind of a thing I feel it's exciting me, and it's also how I feel I can connect with other people. Is I contribute some ideas like, oh, haha. And other people feel that guy is funny. So that's another thing. Curiosity is me. Then the last thing is at least all the feedback people think, oh, you always smile. You look like a nice person. So that's also me. And actually, there is a moment after working in my career about 10 years. I need to be the director or senior director and all this level. There's one time actually one of the boss told me, "You're too nice." To a certain extent, his hidden message says, you cannot manage people because you are too nice, right? So actually, this is the thing I experienced, and I wanted you to know is people actually don't label you on the things you wrote on the resume. They label you on the things they really observe who you are. Actually, they can read you very accurately. And you know yourself, but sometimes you feel these are the not things important with your work, but actually these are the most important things for your in the work if you want to grow. So to a certain extent, that goes to I said is now you have to then play the game reversely. You have to actually start to tell people in a very accurate way who you are, so that they don't misunderstand you. And then you have to explain as to why this is important. This is actually very, very positive to your relationship with the person, with the company, with the group. So that's some homework you need to build when you are in your career, right? Remember, I don't know how many people watch I think that's either YouTube or some movie. It's called documentary. It's called The Social Dilemma. This is a couple years ago. There is a documentary. They talk about how the social media be able to accurately predict your personality, right? Then they feed all these things you like to watch. Just like TikTok, right? So you watch this video, some people like to watch 炒菜, so they give you more 炒菜 video, and you watch whatever, they give you all the things you want. So they describe very accurately who you are. So when you browse your internet, you actually create a virtual you on the internet somewhere. So Google actually have a virtual your person there. They know exactly what to feature in the morning, what to feature in the afternoon, what to feature in the evening. So this is a very, very important thing you need to know. That actually in the social dilemma, they say it's dangerous. We have to change because they can swing your vote, they can do all these crazy things, but in reality, is nobody can change that thing because it's economically so powerful, right? And also, it's a technology. If you cannot stop technology, say I can read the person very accurately, so I can predict their need, right? But one thing I want everyone here to start to realize is knowing that. Then start from now. Hopefully, you start to build a better virtual you on the internet. So actually, every Friday, what I do is I on purposely create something I hope I can learn, right? And so that even I didn't have a time to read, but at least maybe Google knows there's some search content that's important to me. And also I purposely delete some things I don't think it's reflecting what I want to be. So you actively create a virtual you better than yourself in the real world. In such a way, you can always let the virtual you actually to elevate your capability in the long run. So that is something you also need to understand is understand yourself and build better yourself. It is actually very powerful with the current capability now. We can do that. So last, as I said, going back to the one of my manager at that time, he said, "You're very nice. You're too nice." So, but he didn't say you're too nice. You're very nice. So in the end, how do I start to feel this is to my advantage rather than to my disadvantage, right? So number one is you need to use this to build the way how you develop your leadership style. That's important. You need to come up with that. Number two is you need to get the people understand nice is actually good for the leadership. So luckily, there's a book I read a long time ago. It's called Life of Pi. How many people watched that movie, Life of Pi? Right? It's a very good movie, right? Li Ai, was a director. Is a boy sitting with a tiger in the bowl and Life of Pi. Oh, everybody, more people. Okay, the movie is nice. Actually, the book is even better. If you have time, read that book. That book, I would say, is 10 times better than the movie. I know I respect Li all the time, but it just didn't have the capability like a book to just discuss all the things. Actually, the book is much better. Right? In the book, the boy in the high school, the school has a motto. The motto says, "No greatness without goodness." That's the school's motto. If you and that captured my attention, because my attention at the time I said, how nice is important for the business, for my career. But that motto itself says very well, no greatness without goodness. So since then, this is not only just the motto for the high school. Always I use this to kind of framework myself too, because you have to believe nice is good, because otherwise, if there is some feedback from the teachers, from my boss at that time, say you're nice, then I say, how I could be more mean, you know? But sometimes you cannot be that, right? You're yourself. So I think to a certain extent, how do you enhance in a way and also provide a more high ground so that you can say is actually. This is why I contribute to the company. You know, every executive cannot be just like a lean machine. Right? There's someone with that style is part of the leadership team can make things happen. So that's all good. So this is kind of a summary of about me. Now, last is, you actually your own agent. So to a certain extent, take care of your brand, take care of your the kind of career story, your life story, and build that. It's very important. And always spend some time to do that. Okay, any other questions? Oh, important. Okay, next page. Okay, so I come up with these 3 phases. Actually, ChatGPT come up with these 3 phases. It's very simple. To a certain extent, this is not very. Don't take this as something so just like a middle school, go to high school or something. No, this is something very settled when you go through your career. Some career, like if I'm an athlete, right? These 3 phases probably totally different, right? Start with athlete, like amateur, then become professional, then become coach, then become the Olympic organization committee or something. So there is a different phase you can come up with, but every time when you look a long journey as like your career, it will be always better to kind of break down into some small pieces. Then you can start to really focus and analyze. So I looked at from the experience I went through. I didn't start up a company, so there is no different. I mean, if you talk about a startup company, entrepreneur, these 3 phases could be also different. So it's a good kind of homework. You can go through all these things. I just use this one example as if you want to work at a company. In my case, my joke is I never change company. Company always change on me. I would start with at IBM, and then Hitachi bought IBM, then Western Digital bought Hitachi. So just keep on changing. But general in my case is after I graduate, I become an individual contributor, then become a group leader, manager, director, then eventually leading the whole strategy and more on the vision side. So these are the 3 phases I kind of experienced, and I like to explain each of the phases, what I think the most important things related to that. Okay, phase 1. So, some of the things I don't need to explain. I got a PhD, went to the work. The reason they hired you is because you know something other people don't know, and you can bring something in the product. So you are expert in one or two areas. This is how they come up with. So what do you usually say? I see is your role in the organization is add addition. Right? You are one of the member of the team, and your work is very clear, linearly contributing to the overall success of the whole project. Remember, that's linearly. That means your project result will add on the other people's result altogether. That's the end result. That's the impact. That's how your manager will look at your role, right? It's an addition. And also you can see lots of time when people talk about in the corporate, right? How do you make this thing happen? I need a 5 headcount. And that's what they are talking about, right? It's like it's the number correlated to the result. And this is where we started with, at least from the so-called the manager's view. How do we become the best in that role? I call this as you are the expert, so you better answer. You need to answer the question your boss has, your colleague has. So you just need to be the best person, like the master of that particular field. You just need to ask all the questions. And that's also they give you a value. You become a go-to person, and the people will come to ask any of the things. Oh, go to ask that person, he will give you the answer. Or the project they have come to, he will make it done, right? It's really comfortable, really rewarding because you solve lots of problems. You help lots of people. And also at that time, what I think usually you need to avoid, which is basically, because you start with this job, you get an offer, you probably feel, oh, I'm extraordinary because you compare some of your peer in the school, they haven't, they basically, you find the job you really like, right? So you feel you are in the kind of elevated to a different level. But eventually this becomes ordinary again. Here's what I feel is, look, this is where you want avoid, or the other way you said you want to make sure you do opposite, so that you can elevate to the next level. What do you want to elevate? So definitely you cannot stop learning. This is the area usually people have a wrong set of mindset. After I graduate from school, after I get a PhD, I already know most in that field. Why do I need to learn more, right? So start learning is the key. And this is also the time. Nobody tell you what you should learn. And you should find a way and learn as much as you can. And actually, even right now, I just feel every time, if I have extra time, I just think there's a long list of things I want to learn. So it's actually started from this beginning of my career. You just think, this is so-called the reserve capability. You always, it's like an electrical car. You want to always charge up, right? This is the effort you want to do. So I give you a couple of examples. You can learn in a different way. Then eventually, you end up probably pivoted to a different direction. In one of the colleagues I know, he was IBM fellow, right? IEEE fellow. So he's really learned to make a so-called one particular area. He become an I skill set, right? He's a very deep in that field. So we call the I type of people. And in my case, actually I become a more T type. So you start with the area that you are really good at, then you start to broaden your area. So my friend, the IBM friend, fellow, when he retired, I gave a speech. What I said is, his name is Roger. I said Roger is really an expert in that field. We call it magnetic physics, right? In the magnetic physics, everybody knows he's an expert, and also he's extremely knowledgeable in the we call it signal processing. So then like the double E expert, right? So he's an expert in there also. since I also try to be the expert everywhere, I learn from him. So what I end up is, when I talk with a magnetic expert, they think I am a channel expert. When I talk with a channel expert, they think I'm a magnetic expert. This is the other way I'm learning. In the way is my learning is becoming more like a broadening. So basically what I come up with is, I find that there is a need, you actually need to connect the different disciplines together. And that's how this area creates also value. So as you talk about learning, there's no kind of script to say, particularly at that time and all these things, you need to learn that. No, you have to figure it out. It's a hard job, but this is why we are here to know, because once you pick what you learn, the rest will just accumulate and come up with result. So how do you choose, right? Number one, you need to know what's your strengths. It goes back to, right? You cannot learn something you don't like, so you have to go back to automatically, if you're relaxed, you're tired, or what do you want to think? And these things you cannot teach yourself. So you have to come back to pick up on your learning habit so that it's not your burden, it's actually part of your life schedule. So I recommend a book, which is one of the book you can check. It's called Seven Highly Efficient People. That book is a very, very good, popular book. Even they have a kids book now. So they can find highly efficient kids, right? So 不能输在起跑线上, right? That's so true actually. Maybe we should have an efficient or pregnant mom or something in the future. But this is, I just use one book to expand your maybe a starting point or reference, and just kind of give you a kind of some example of what kind of book will be fits in that phase, right? So this is where you are. So the key thing is, don't let the people think that's the only thing you can do. You need to continue to learn so that the people start to see you have a higher potential than that. And also every time, and this is the thing I also learned my personally, trust your manager. Don't always tell your manager you are too busy. Actually, I found out many times, I just tell my manager, I'm never busy. I never stress. I won't say I was busy. I never say I'm stressed or I need overtime. Because this is how you present yourself. Right? What your manager look is not your so-called you are acting busy or not. A good manager can tell your performance compared to your peer. So sometimes you said you are not busy, but your work result shows you are already better than your peer. It is actually very, very outstanding. You could be nominated by your manager for your future growth very easily. So in my case, and also I have a couple of people, one of the person I remember in my group, she actually is a CMU master degree, and when she moved to our team, every Friday she comes to my office, she said, I don't have anything to do. So I have to come up with some idea to help her to get busy, right? Then it become a habit. Every Thursday evening, I have to start to think what I need to tell her what to do. And the funny thing is, she's a Korean. It was one time actually I found out that there was a newspaper on New York Times and talking about two Korean graduate students. They started their own fried chicken business. That was more than 15 years ago. So fried chicken in the area, I didn't even see it, right? So one time the Friday she come in, I said, I showed the newspaper to her. I said, do we have any Korean fried chicken restaurant here? And she told me there was a 99 on El Camino. So I don't know any of you know there is a, okay, right? So I heard that restaurant closed already. Okay, but at that time, that was the only Korean fried chicken restaurant was very, very decent. So anyway, we all, so very important is, in the work, you want to show is you are learning, and also you want to show you have a more capability than the current job. That is super, super important. Okay, next page. So once you elevate it to the next level, and then your skill set need to be totally different. To a certain extent, what you were good at in the previous phase could be your burden in the new phase. Number one, your role is a multiplier. What does that mean? Your role actually is to make other people more powerful, not yourself. So don't become an adder, because sometimes if you start to mix the role, if you're managing the team and all that, don't try to be the smartest in the group. Don't try to be smarter than your team, because your team member, your team member knows they are smarter. They may know you are still know much more, but they should have a confidence when they are entrusted to do something. They will be the one to make the call. So to a certain extent, you want to be a multiplier. You want to help them to scale their capability. So your role is a multiplier. Now, what is your skill? Asking questions. Your skill is just asking questions, not answering questions. It's a very different role now. I think Chinese, usually we don't ask a question, right? For me, I started with this in the meeting. How many people were puzzled about, people talk about this acronym? And you were thinking, what that acronym means? But you don't want to ask because you don't want to feel, if I ask, people will think I don't know this, right? So asking questions start from there. That's what I did. And you just ask. And suddenly you find out that there's at least half the people in the room say, yes, what is that? So always do that. You could be, sometimes nobody will say, it happens, but don't get used to asking that. And also, that is the first thing you start to develop is in the meeting, you start to use asking questions to start to make the meeting become an interactive meeting. So eventually you want the meeting, in the end, you want to understand what is the meeting about, right? The meeting is really about people come together, try to solve some problem or try to develop some kind of idea, and then have some consensus. That's always is about. Usually that's all the meeting is about, right? So if that's the case, that means when we come into the meeting, nobody have the right answer. If somebody already have the right answer, we don't need a meeting, right? So you always assume this is why we need a meeting. So asking question is a good way to kind of formulate the thinking among the group. Because you cannot, if we have a whole team here, right? What brings the team together is they have the same question in their mind and start to think, right? So so this is, I just use meeting, but in any case, your leadership, for me, leadership is asking the right question. I read a book about AT&T lab, the more than 100 years of history of AT&T lab, start from the beginning. It was a beautiful book. It's called the Idea Machine. That is the book's name. And basically, that AT&T lab, it has more than 3 Nobel Prize winners, right? Semiconductor was invented there, and all these great ideas were there. Shannon, this channel, what was coming from that lab, right? But the director of that lab was a chemist, and how a chemist managing all these physicists, mathematicians, right? So we talk about knowledge hierarchy, they talk about knowledge hierarchy, math, physics, chemist. Chemist is actually, hierarchy is not that deep, right? So the leader, the director, actually, he said is, all I have done to make these people feel, they like to be part of it is, I know what the question to ask. So this is a very, very important skill you need to learn, is ask the question. You start with some question which is trivial, just to warm you up, but eventually you need to start to ask questions, and it's try error. This is like a learn bicycle. You know, I can tell you how to ride a bicycle all the time, but you have to get your bicycle, you have to practice. And that is something you need to learn. And also this is how you start to, I would say, change your label from individual contributor to a more master lead, kind of a group leaders. Because the question is what you connected to people, and you start to understand what other people's need, and then formulate the whole thing together. So what do you want to avoid? Focusing on zero-sum game. What does that mean? When you become a manager, when you start to understand your interest and other people's interest in all this together, now there will be a conversion point which you start to see is there's an interest kind of a collision or some kind of a resetting, right? In lots of time, the decision will find its way, you know, there's no problem, but there's always sometimes it is really, you know, you have two sides of story. They both are very compelling. And in the end, it's a net zero sum. Like a group A want to hire that very, very smart person. And group B also want to hire this very, very smart person, but unfortunately it's the same person, right? And then what do we do? Two managers have their own story. Without that person, my project will be really bad. The other manager will come up with the same story. Now sometimes this comes to you, then you can come up with some better understanding and work out. But what if you are that manager, one of the A, B manager, you are one of them, right? You present your case, the other people present their case, and what do, right? This kind of thing will happen, and at least my style, the thing I start to learn is, when you start to judge some situation like a zero sum, don't overanalyze it. You will never get the thing split here. Eventually says, you know, there is a correct way. There's no correct way. There is just at the time happens, you need to make the call, right? So I gave an example. Yeah, I was one of the manager A actually. There's another manager B and said we want to hire the same people. What do we do? You know, my team said without that, you know, our project will be delayed. The other manager said, my team told me without that, the project would be delayed, right? Then, so the story I had at that time was that actually the team is remote. The manager come to San Jose. We had a dinner together. I had a dinner with the manager. I said, let's do following. I have a method, right? So I pull out the coin. I said, I flip a coin. A is the face, I take the person. But after that, we tell our team, right? We made it, we went through all the pro and con, this is the outcome. Right. So what ends up the manager said, okay, then you take it. So in the end, what you want to come up with is there's certain decision you know is there's no you need to prepare some kind of how to say the exit scenario you are not favor of. Your team won't be disappointed either. I mean, you thought that you represented team, you're under the tremendous stress on that. But also you need to tell yourself is, this is zero-sum game. Eventually someone will figure it out it's a zero-sum game and make a decision one way or the other. I don't want my boss to make that decision for us. It's better you just take the decision and move on, right? And this is where you need to learn. And I see there's so many managers, what they start to shine is they focus a lot on zero-sum. I usually find out that this manager they feel they are fighting for their team. But in the end, from their manager, they feel is you are not able to address a tough situation. You only try to protect your own interest. So if then these things become is now you become your ordinary all the time. You are just at this because what happened is your manager will think you're good at that team because you're really protecting your team. You know exactly your team's needs. You make enough noise. I know whatever your team needs, I can listen to you. But since you are not able to look the bigger picture, right? So then this stop doing is where I want everybody to aware is you stay at the ordinary if you try to do more on the zero-sum game and minimize that, and that will bring you to the next level. So this is what I think I personally want to share with everyone is when you see this zero-sum, try to avoid, try to move on. There will be tons of this kind of situation when you move, become a manager, become director, and even further on. A book I put here, Principles, Ray Dalio. And Ray Dalio is a private equity manager, very, very famous. He probably at one point the fund was the largest in the world. I found this the financial investor-related book are very, very good. The reason is you can learn lots of decision-making philosophy from them. Why their decision-making philosophy is very, very good. Part of the reason is they measure it by real money, right? And also the feedback cycle is very fast. So when these people start to talk about strategy, start talk about manage a decision process, you better read this kind of book. So this is one book I recommend, and feel free to explore any other books. There's just tons of books tell you how to be a good manager, how to be a good visionary person. But that particular book I really like. So just give you one piece of the advice in that book. I really feel very, very good. In one of the book, one of the things he said in one of the rules he said is, don't use your investment result as your only feedback to whether your decision is right or wrong. Actually, you have to separate that. Your decision process quality versus your investment result, sometimes they are different, right? Just like you suddenly there is some kind of a market crash, you cannot say it's because of my decision is wrong. So every time actually they said is whatever the investment outcome, they always use this to feedback to their decision process. So I think I like to use this as a device. So when you are manager, sometimes you see some project is really failed. You start to connect this. There's some decisions you made previously actually caused that failure. Extremely important to connect yourself is don't use that end result to kind of connect with all your decision. It is very important you start to do the study carefully and put this real lesson together and move on, because that will end up eventually. In the future, a good leader, you need to do two things right. You need to really have we call the batting average, better than other people. But eventually, you do lots of decisions, batting average, you have to be better than other people. The other is unforced error is the most better thing. So you really don't want is make a decision, then eventually you find out that actually, if I go through the right process, this mistake can be made. So to get a better statistics, you really want to make this unforced error. And this is what I think this book will tell you. I think that when I was in Bay Area, I know that we have lots of friends. They are really passionate about investment. How does this start? Look how much it grows, right? They always use that as story. No, this is actually not the right story. You can say you are good at investment. So that's just the thing I feel it's very, very good. So when you in that phase, important, it's the phase you learn how do you make a decision, and also trying to start to elevate from the zero-sum game and then try to look more globally. Then people know now you are thinking like even a bigger leader. Okay, one more page on that. That's a phase 3. This phase, I want to just say very, very light, because actually my personal experience is when you're on this phase, it's a more, when you talk about strategy. To a certain extent, it's not that the people you manage or you lead matters, it's how your message carries. Very, very bad experience. Quote, I always remind people the words is the only thing we carry to influence people. Just look at history, right? Hitler, how can he motivate the whole country and then let them to sacrifice their life for some words he just said, right? And so when we on this role, we know our power is our words. So we need to be extremely careful so that we can use the words accurately and purposely. And our goal is inspiring people. It can inspire either way, but the inspiring people is the key thing company looking at. If you look at mathematically, it's your contribution is exponential. What is exponential? That means what you said may end up impact on company future 5 years, 10 years from now. That's very, very profound. And this is how, when you talk about at that level, and you need to come up with. Usually when you at the kind of what we call ELT level, the most difficult thing you need to avoid is so-called disconnecting from reality. And we see so many companies, big companies especially, why they stay on some of the older business so long. You see there is a new technology coming, how come they are not respond quickly and all these things? Part of the reason is they are disconnecting from reality. Now, this is where I feel kind of a little bit puzzling is, when I look at this morning, I double-checked this claim is, actually reality itself is very difficult to define. If there is a very objective reality, then we can say, we can really rank all the CEO, which CEO really not disconnect the reality. Which every CEO knows they don't want to disconnect the reality, right? It's the reality they thought they've based on are different. So to a certain extent, the CEO is to avoid, or a decision maker when you're in that role, is not avoid this, is avoid you lost a capability to get the reality. So including if you surrounded by a group of people always say yes to you, then you're disconnected. Right? So all these things, if you look at one level further, you can find out many other interesting things. In every area, you can open up a new chapter of learning. Now, talk about learning. These are the two books I really like. One is a more philosophical by Professor James Cass. He wrote a philosophy book called The Finite and the Infinite Games. It's a philosophy book. It's about basically any game. There is two types of games. One game is like there is a winner, loser, and that's a finite game. And there is another game called infinite game. The game itself is just to continue your game, right? So you can. Why this book is important? This book important is most of when you look at the strategy, most of your strategy decision is an infinite game decision. It is not about you have to finish that project. Any well-defined end point is done, and that is the final game. And what you really need to start to understand is that there's a a new game in the town is called Infinite Game. And that infinite game is what you play. So what does that mean, right? I'll give you an example. We know our World Cup, right? World Cup is about, we want to have a winner and all these things. And this is the game they play. So the player, the national team, they go into the World Cup, they play the game called, they want to win the final game. So what would make a World Cup so important, become a, nation passion, become a whole global event? These are the FIFA team, right? These teams, they are the one try to build an infinite game. So they are the one will decide, should I put a replay, what is called VIA, right? To check it or not, and whether that will make the game more interesting or less interesting. So what they do is not really, they use a different knob. They are played, I call this a mathematical term, they play the boundary condition. They are not trying to solve the differential equation. They are the one playing boundary condition. And they use this different knob to continue the game. So to a certain extent, if you look at your life, your life, each of them, our life is a finite game. You can view us as a finite game, which is we only have one life. Or you can view us as an infinite game, which is how you bring your legacy. How do you think Actually, the reason we are here is because all the future, the previous people played all the way here, right? So this book actually opened my eye a lot, and I like to share this with everyone. If you have time, I give you a warning. This book is very boring. Don't try to come up. So there is a more easy listening book. There's the book by a different author. He is a more motivator speaker, and same title. If you type in this infinite game, and you will see these two authors, and choose this one instead of that one. And if you finish that one, you just still Simon Sinek. Finish that one. If you like this one, if you're really passionate about this topic, then you go to this philosopher's. So that's the thing. I really see this will not only help your career, it will help your perspective of life. Okay, so these three phases. Now, connected with all these three phases is really how do you set your mindset? How do you behave yourself? This goes back to I said a straight A student will struggle in the real life is because we usually not take enough risk, and we take a failure as a bigger penalty. And most of the straight A students, when they prepare their final exam, at least for me, is like I want to focus on what I can make, what are the area I will make mistake. I focus this very, very careful. So every test is not a learning; it's really try to avoid mistake. So if you have that habit in your real life, it will slow you down tremendously. And part of the thing I talk with my kids is about if you use that mindset to dating, you will be in big trouble because if you only worry about failure, then you cannot really pursue the person you really like, right? Because if you count on the failure is one of the options and you start to avoid that, then that's the missed opportunity you will have. So make sure purposely put yourself in a more kind of uncertainty environment. That is very important. So to address that, all of us need to make sure our mindset changes from a straight A student to a more entrepreneur, explore type of style. Because even we don't start a company, the kind of mindset of entrepreneurship is always very, very important for us as we move from ordinary to extraordinary. So this is where we see, and you compare SpaceX versus NASA. Lots of business case talk about that, right? It's very clear. And a couple years ago, I have another habit. Is just every year, graduation time, there is commencement talk. So I always have a habit to just go to YouTube and find this commencement talk and just refresh some of the things inspiring people. George W. Bush, one time at one university, SMU in Texas, with a student, and he said something very interesting. I remember. So everybody knows that George W. Bush is not a good student, right? In college, he knows that too. So he said, "Is for the all the straight A student, congratulations, you did it, right?" Then he said, "And I want to say to the C students, you too can be president." So it was a joke. To a certain extent, we know why if he doesn't have the George family and all this is amazing. But the joke he made has a past truth. It's just amazing. I think in real life, it is important. You need to use a C student attitude to deal with the real life. And then you will have I would say, right balance in terms of expectation versus the thing you can accomplish. So that's the risk taking. Move all these together. If I look, personally, I feel this as you cycle through ordinary to extraordinary as all these things go. Next page. What you really ends up is you are building up your character, your legacy, or whatever you can call this. And this is also connected to so-called what is the infinite game, right? If you just say my life is just cycling through ordinary versus non-ordinary, extraordinary, then what's the purpose? Now the purpose is eventually you build up your character. And this is a book. David Brooks, he is the author I really like. He is a New York Times writer, and he was the conservative writer in New York Times. So you can connect his kind of spectrum in the and also he's the conservative commentator in one of the NPR program. Every Friday he talked the politics there. So he wrote that book, The Road to Character. Maybe recently he had a different book called Double Mountain and all these things. But fundamentally, he presents everyone as everyone carries two atoms. They call Atom 1, Atom 2 on our shoulder. Atom 1 is everything what on our so-called resume. And this is all the things we discuss, right, on our resume. This is also something we can clearly measure, and people see us in the career, they see all the time, and we will introduce on our business card. And this is what we're passionate to work on. But also he said it's eventually we are building an internal moralist, and that is where the virtue eventually will connect us, build actually. This goes back to tell your own story. Your own story, partially use this to build, but eventually end up here. And this will be who you are. That will be a continuous build of your legacy, of your moral kind of framework. So I found this picture which is very nice. It's Jude Pass. You are doing that not only to advance your career. You are doing that because you want to build your stronger character. You want to build your stronger, I would say, in the future, in your moral position, right? That is very meaningful thing. This is why I really appreciate this mentor program. I really think it's a good thing. I hope I can continue to support. And this talk is just some of the kind of random thoughts I put together. Thanks, Iris, to motivate me to doing that. Actually, this literally put this together in the last couple of weeks. But I'm passionate about this topic. So I think that's one to me. Yes, thank you.